Let me tell you something. Don't drink in silicone. This stuff gets everywhere. Okay, now we'll put her back on the engine. So here we go. If you hear a lot of background noise, because we're actually doing this at the campground, it's not a terribly big job. There's a few steps to it. First step is getting your clutches off. Now what I've done here already is I've jacked the machine up, took a wheel off, unbolted the shock, just to get it out of the way, make the video a little shorter. But first we're going to pull the secondary clutch. Yes, I'm cheating. I have air tools. Trick to getting this off is to pull out on the secondary, or the outer sheave. Give it a little wiggle. Off she comes. That's actually how some people change their belt, too. You saw how the clutch spread. Gave you a ton of room to get the belt out. Now, the next one isn't quite so easy. Got to get your primary clutch off. I've generally found you can use an impact on here. I don't like it. Inside this engine is your main bearings, conrod bearings, a lot of important stuff. So if you can do it without an impact, I recommend you do. My trick is stick a pry bar through. Make sure you don't stick your pry bar in where your Teflon buttons ride in your clutch towers. Get your ratchet out. Doesn't look like I'm going to hurt anything there. This is torqued to 94 foot-pounds, so it can be a little tight. Okay. Now that your retaining bolt was broke loose, spin her out. Grab your clutch puller. Now this is from my 2015. I hope it's the same in 2019. It feels like they might be in luck. Okay, she's bottomed. Now the trick is your ratchet is going to be turning this way, which is backwards for the engine. I know from experience that this needs to turn this way. You don't want this turning backwards because your timing chain tensioner up inside your engine will skip eventually. Then you're in for a world of hurt. And of course I don't have the right size of socket. Be right back. Okay. Now with my pry bar jammed through my clutch, not through any of these slides, under the front engine mount, it's going to turn backwards just a tiny bit. Let's see how hard this one is to break loose. There we go. So this one has never been off. This is factory. This is why I don't recommend impact guns. You saw how easy that was. An older machine, this one's only got 1,700 kilometers on it. These might be harder. Yes, the rattling effect of an impact gun will break it loose, and it probably won't blow up your engine. There we go. That one come off pretty good. She's filthy. We'll be giving her a cleaning here. Next step, you're going to want to get all your air pipes off. Then undo these bolts here. Be right back. So on this machine, it's hard to tell where my water was coming in from. I know I got this belt wet. Pretty sure I swamped it. And on my last machine, it was easy to see a trail of where the mud and water was coming in. I'm actually not seeing that on this machine. All I'm seeing is a gruesome mess around the air piping, intake and exhaust. But I didn't think I had the machine flipped on its side that badly. And what I'm seeing on this 2019 is some kind of sealant around the bolt holes already. Let me know in the comments if you guys know, are they already doing a better job of this right from the factory? If they are, I'm not quite aware of it just yet. So I'm going to carry on with this job and see what comes of it. Now, if I was any sort of cameraman, I'd have broken all this stuff loose already. Oh, there we go. And that one come out pretty nice. And it looks like it's going to be fun to get this around this wiring harnesses and stuff. But let's just see how it goes. Lucky we didn't break that off. Yeah, there's a lot of sealant around those already. I might be barking up the wrong tree here. We'll find it later. So my 2015, none of this was sealed. But there's a couple of things you want to check while you're in here. Now also, there's a foam seal around here. I know I'm about to tear it, and I really don't mind that. I'll show you why in a few minutes here. That one sure come off easy compared to my last one. That was not stuck to the engine's crankcase at all. So there was no sealing going on there at all. In true Polaris fashion, there's no type of gasket around here. They got it around the bolts this time, which on my last machine they didn't. But in here, in your transmission input seal, there is nothing. So this could be leaking around here. And I tell you what, this sure didn't feel very good either. There was no resistance when I went to remove that. So next step, I'm going to scrape this goopy off of here. Scrape the goopy off of here. Wow, that's a lot of goopy. They're crazier with the black silicone than I am, but they didn't do the two most crucial pieces. Okay, I'm gonna get a gasket scraper, scrape this stuff off, clean up these mounts, and I'll be right back. So just a little update here, fellas. While I was cleaning all this clutch cover, I found the source of my actual leak. It's on this flange right here. I was using Croil, you can use WD-40, any penetrating oil to get rid of that dried up mud, and then clean it out with brake clean, blow it dry. But what I noticed was when I sprayed Croil on here, it leaked out of the other side. So this time, it isn't the transmission or my engine mount. It's this flange right here where this one snorkel pipe goes in. I never had that problem on the last Razor, but we figured it out this time. So sure enough, fellas, we get her apart, and you can see where the mud was leaking through the silicone on there. I've since tested this second pipe with the same method, and you can see where that penetrating oil is starting to leak through. I'm going to take both these off, clean them, reseal them, see what happens. Alright, so here we go, fellas. It's about 4 rum and cokes later. I got all that silicone scraped off finally. I put this adapter back on the clutch cover and checked out the fitment. It's not real good. Screw holes are all lined up. And I'm even pushing down on it to try and make it seal a little better. But it's pretty ugly. Another problem is, so on this adapter where your snorkel goes, or your air piping, you can see there's a nice ridge all the way around there. And when you get down to the bottom, for some reason the ridge just disappears. So I'm gonna goop silicone to it like crazy, let it sit for 5-10 minutes, tack up a little bit, and then tighten the screws into it. But we'll let you know how it goes here. Hey guys, well, we're back together. What I did is I took a file and I oblonged these bolt holes so that when I pushed in the middle of this piece, the curve matched the clutch cover better, and then tightened it down. And siliconed both sides of everything, let it sit for 10 minutes, and then put it together and tightened it up. Just to try and let the silicone get tacky and form a better gasket. Let me tell you something, don't drink in silicone. This stuff gets everywhere. Okay, now we'll put her back on the engine. So while you get your clutches off, now's the perfect time to deglaze them. These ones weren't glazed that badly, but all you do is you take some Scotch-Brite and you work in and out, trying to create a bit of a crosshatch in there. Just take care of any polishing. You can check for wear. You can have a look at your, on this machine it's a 2-way bearing. Is it nice and free? This one is. You can have a look at your spider backup nut. Make sure it hasn't backed off. That's a really common problem. If it was hanging out up here, well, you know you got a problem. Then after you give that a deglazing, brake clean in a rag. I've already blown it dry once, or blown the dust out of it once. I'll blow the blower dry again. Everything I finish with is brake clean in a rag when it comes to clutches. Clean and dry. Your belt won't live if it's got any sort of oily, greasy stuff on it. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay guys, so here we go. Everything's finally cleaned and prepped. The joints are re-siliconed. On the back of the inner clutch cover itself, I've siliconed around where the transmission goes, around all the bolt holes. And even though there's a seal on here, I've siliconed around where it mounts to the engine. And again, around the bolt holes. So let's see how fun this is to get in without getting silicone everywhere. She's in place. Start some bolts before something happens. Okay, she went up and into place fairly easily. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let all this sit for about 5-10 minutes. Hopefully that silicone kind of solidifies and forms a better gasket. Be back shortly. Okay, we're back. Tighten these up. Now, I don't actually know what the torque spec on these are, but I'm bearing in mind that I'm going into pot aluminum, and I'm being pretty ginger. Something I should mention, folks, is when I had this clutch cover off, and behind here was a joint between your transmission and your engine, where the transmission and the engine bolt together. A couple of bolts facing that way. Check the torque on those while you got this clutch cover off. Apparently these razors are famous for that backing off. Once that backs off, it allows alignment issues between your transmission and your engine's crankshaft. And that could be part of the problem with wet belts, clutch covers not sealing up. Could be a symptom of that. These ones were tight. I was lucky. And next we'll be putting on our clutches here. Okay, we're back, guys, and what I did is, off camera, I cleaned all these pipes out, took them to the garden hose, used some mechanics wire and a rag through them, blew them dry with air. All of this was soaked dry with brake clean, wiped, blown dry. Again, you can't have anything oily or greasy in where your belt and your clutches are. Cleaned my clutches, blew them out with air, and start putting her back together. So with a machine in a gear, you're going to want to try and get the splines to line up. There we go. Get the bolt in. Give her a quick zap up with the impact gun. Nothing too serious. We're going to torque it. Torque spec is 55 foot-pounds. Torquing this 55 foot-pounds is not fun. My best way I've found is to put the vehicle in a gear, stick a pry bar through the drive shaft, and this isn't my favorite pry bar for this. It's got a lot of spring to it, and you're about to see why it's not my favorite. 55 foot-pounds. There we go. Do that one more time just to make sure. There we go. there you have it. 55 foot-pounds. Now let's see if we can get that out of there. Alright. Next thing I do, put my belt on. This has been brake cleaned, wiped, blown dry. I know it's clean. I'll put that on there. Primary in there. Get it to line up with the crankshaft. And again, I don't like impacts, but there is a time and a place, unfortunately. This little gun is not going to over-torque this. Torque for that is 96 foot-pounds. And your engine's going to try and turn on you. And in this case, it's actually going to try and turn backwards. So, get your pry bar through, hook it underneath your engine mount. You might have to turn to a better spot. There. And that'll minimize how much the engine turns backwards. There. And now the reason I like torquing those is because an impact gun seats a taper a lot harder than it maybe should be. Anytime you're dealing with a taper, impact guns are kind of a no-no. I deal with them a lot at work, and it could be a miserable bear to get off next time. Just turn it free. I better put the vehicle in neutral just to give everything a check. There we go. Have a quick look in here. Belt alignment. It'll tell you if you've assembled anything wrong. And beyond this, now you just put in a seal, put your outer cover on, and you're done. I think in this case, this is probably an age thing, why this flange was leaking here. Age, heat, I don't know for sure. It wasn't a very good design, the way of the sealing surface they use in here. The curve of this flange didn't match the curve of this clutch cover very well. If any of you guys know of any way of fixing that, aftermarket clutch covers, different materials, post it below down in the comments. Let me know. Have a good one.